Question 1. Through the lens of high availability, on. A Citrix NetScaler MPX appliance Mr. Williams configures a pair to ensure fault tolerance. After failover testing, he notices sessions are not persisting on the secondary node immediately after failover. What should Mr. Williams verify to resolve this issue? A. That session synchronization is enabled and working properly between the primary and secondary nodes. B. That the secondary node's firmware is updated separately after failover occurs. C. That the virtual IP VIP address is manually reassigned to the secondary node after failover. D. That the subnet IP SNP address of the primary node is disabled to prevent conflicts. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. High availability. Pairs require session state synchronization to maintain user sessions during failover. Without session synchronization enabled, the secondary node cannot restore active sessions, causing users to lose connection continuity. Firmware should be consistent on both nodes before failover, not updated after failover. B. Incorrect. The VIP address automatically moves to the active node during failover. Manual reassignment. C. Is neither required nor recommended. Disabling SNP. D. Is unrelated to session persistence and can disrupt backend communication. Ensuring proper session synchronization follows Citrix best practices to provide seamless failover. Question 2. Given the circumstances of a Citrix NetScaler EX deployed in a multi-tenant cloud environment, ISLE needs to isolate traffic between different tenants without using VLANs. Which feature should she configure to segregate network traffic securely? A. Route domains. B. Global server load balancing GLB. C. Content switching. D. Subnet IP SNP addresses. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Content switching allows routing traffic-based URL or request content to different virtual servers, effectively isolating tenant traffic without VLAN use. Route domains. They isolate IP addresses, but require separate routing tables and are more complex. For multi-tenant GLB, B manages traffic across data centers, but does not isolate tenant traffic within the same data center. SNP defines addresses for backend communication and does not isolate tenant traffic. Using content switching aligns with advanced NetScaler deployment scenarios requiring logical tenant isolation at the application layer. Question 3. When analyzing SSL flow configurations, Mr. Gomez notices that SSL handshake times are significantly increased after applying a new SSL profile. What is the most likely cause of this performance degradation? A. The SSL profile is enforcing a stronger cipher suite and higher TLS version. B. The SSL profile has disabled session reuse and caching features. C. The virtual server is not configured with an SSL certificate. D. The NetScaler appliance does not have SSL acceleration hardware enabled. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. SSL acceleration hardware, such as an SSL card, offloads cryptographic processing, drastically reducing SSL handshake time. Without hardware acceleration enabled, the CPU handles SSL encryption, increasing latency, while stronger cipher suite can slightly increase handshake time. The impact is not usually drastic. Disabling session reuse. B. Can affect performance, but when explicitly configured, it's less common. The lack of an SSL certificate. C. Would prevent SSL connections entirely, not just slow them. Therefore, enabling SSL hardware acceleration is key for optimized SSL flow performance. Question 4. Based on the information that Kumar is configuring load balancing for a web application with stateful sessions, which persistence method should she implement to maintain user sessions effectively? A. Source IP persistence. B. Cookie-based persistence. C. SSL session ID persistence. D. Destination IP persistence. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Cookie-based persistence is ideal for stateful web applications because it directly tracks user sessions or EP cookies, ensuring all requests go to the same backend server. Source IP persistence A can be unreliable due to NAT and shared IPs in client networks. SSL session ID persistence C works only for SSL traffic and requires SSL termination on NetScaler. Destination IP persistence D is irrelevant as it refers to server IP, not client sessions. Choosing cookie persistence aligns with best practice for maintaining session integrity in load balancing. Question 5. In the context of integrating NetScaler Gateway with Storefront for remote access, Ista Patel wants to ensure single sign-on SSO for users accessing XenApp resources. What authentication configuration best supports this requirement? A. Configure LDAP authentication on NetScaler Gateway with credential forwarding to Storefront. B. Enable Radius authentication on NetScaler Gateway and disable Storefront authentication. C. Use SAML authentication on NetScaler Gateway with Storefront configured for pass-through authentication. D. Disable authentication on NetScaler Gateway. Rely solely on Storefront authentication. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Using SAML authentication on NetScaler Gateway combined with pass-through authentication on Storefront allows seamless SSO for users by federating identity management. LDAP with credential forwarding A. is possible but less secure and more complex to maintain. Radius B. primarily supports two-factor authentication and may complicate SSO. Disabling gateway authentication D. is insecure and breaks access control. SAML-based integration follows current Citrix best practices for secure, smooth remote user experience. Question 6. Considering the evidence from recent traffic monitoring, Johnson finds that some backend services are marked down by the health monitor, though users report no downtime. What should be Johnson's next troubleshooting step? A. Adjust the health monitor's threshold values to be less sensitive. B. Replace the existing monitor with basic EEP monitor. C. Verify that the monitor request accurately reflects the service's health check endpoint. D. Disable health monitoring temporarily to avoid service interruptions. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Adjusting threshold values to reduce sensitivity helps avoid false negatives due to minor delays or transient errors, aligning with monitoring best practices. Simply switching to a EE monitor. B. May not test application level health accurately. Verifying the monitor endpoint C is important but likely already correct if users report no issues. Disabling health monitoring D risks directing truly failed servers, degrading service reliability. Properly tuning monitor thresholds optimizes availability and user experience. Question 7. From a practical standpoint, Ista O'Neill is tasked with configuring NetScaler Triscale cluster to increase scalability. Which statement best describes the functionality of Triscale clustering? A. Triscale clustering aggregates multiple NetScaler appliances to appear as a single entity with shared configuration and load balancing. B. Triscale clustering duplicates user sessions across appliances for seamless failover. C. Triscale clustering combines hardware and virtual appliances in single deployment. D. Triscale clustering assigns unique IP addresses to each node without traffic sharing. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Triscale clustering enables multiple NetScaler appliances to operate as one logical device with shared configuration and distributed load balancing, enhancing scalability and throughput. It does not replicate user sessions, B, which is a function of pairs, not clustering. It may involve homogeneous or heterogeneous appliances, but does not specifically combine hardware and virtual appliances as a feature C. Assigning unique IPs without traffic sharing D contradicts clustering principles. This matches Citrix's clustering design for scale-out architectures. Question 8. While examining a NetScaler gateway authentication setup, Sanchez wants to enforce multi-factor authentication using LDAP and Radius. Which sequence best achieves this? A. Configure primary LDAP authentication followed by secondary Radius authentication in the AUT policy. B. Configure Radius authentication as primary and LDAP as fallback in separate policies. C. Configure both LDAP and Radius to authenticate simultaneously and accept whichever succeeds first. D. Use only LDAP authentication and add a Radius server to the backend LDAP directory. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Chaining LDAP as primary and Radius as secondary enforces two-factor authentication where the user must pass both checks sequentially. Configuring Radius first with LDAP fallback B reverses typical authentication logic. Authenticating simultaneously and accepting first success C defeats multi-factor authentication goals. Adding Radius inside LDAP backend D is not feasible. Proper IO policy chaining reflects Citrix recommended practices for MFA deployment on NetScaler Gateway. Question 9. With respect to the function of SNP and VIP addresses, Mr. Thompson is confused about their roles in traffic flow. Which description correctly explains their purposes? A. VIP addresses receive client traffic, while SNP addresses are used by NetScaler to communicate with backend servers. B. SNP addresses are assigned to virtual servers, and VIP addresses are used for internal routing. C. Both SNP and VIP addresses are used interchangeably for client-facing services. D. VIP addresses are for management access, while SNP addresses handle user sessions. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. This is incorrect, which clarifies why other options must be considered carefully. VIP addresses are indeed used to receive client traffic for virtual servers, while SNP addresses enable NetScaler to communicate with backend resources. A. SNP is not assigned to virtual servers. B. VIP and SNP are not interchangeable. C. As their roles are distinct. VIP is not for management access. D. Management use. Dedicated IP. Therefore, option A is correct. Question 10. In terms of configuring ACLs to restrict access to the NetScaler management interface, Mr. Baker must decide how to limit access without disrupting legitimate operations. Which approach is best? A. Apply ACLs to the management IP, allowing only trusted source IP addresses and deny all others. B. Disable the management interface entirely and configure all management via CLI only. C. Apply ACLs to all virtual servers, blocking access from all external ITs. D. Rely solely on firewall rules external to NetScaler to restrict management access. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Disabling the management interface and using CLI through secure channels. E.g. SSH tunneled over VPN removes the attack surface entirely, which is the most secure approach recommended in sensitive environments. Applying ACLs to management IP is good but less secure than disabling. Blocking all external IT on virtual servers. C. Is impractical and disrupts legitimate client access. Relying only on external firewalls. D. Is insufficient due to potential misconfigurations. Disabling GUI management enforces strict control aligned with Citrix best security practices. Question 11. When faced with a situation where Mr. Chen wants to optimize load balancing across geographically dispersed data centers, which NetScaler feature should he implement to distribute traffic efficiently? A. Content switching. B. Global server load balancing GLB. C. Load balancing virtual servers. D. Route domains. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Global server load balancing GLB is designed to distribute client requests across multiple data centers geographically to improve availability and performance. Content switching A is used for routing within a single data center based on content, not geo-distribution. Load balancing virtual servers C handle traffic within a data center but do not provide geo-distribution. Route domain D isolate network traffic logically but don't balance geographic. DLB use DNS and health checks to route users optimally, critical for global deployments. Question 12. Given the circumstances that Is Alvarez is troubleshooting a failure in SSL flooding, she suspects the problem lies with certificate management. Which action should she take to ensure proper SSL flood functionality? A. Verify the private key is correctly paired with the SSL certificate on the NetScaler. B. Remove all intermediate certificates to simplify the chain. C. Use a self-signed certificate instead of a co-signed certificate. D. Disable SSL profiles to force default behavior. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Using self-signed certificates. C is generally discouraged in production because they are not trusted by clients, leading to SSL errors. Therefore, this is incorrect and not best practice. The correct approach is A. Verifying the private key matches the certificate to ensure proper SSL handshaking. Removing intermediate certificates. B. Breaks the chain of trust, causing validation failures. Disabling SSL proof. D. Removes fine-grained control and can worsen issues. Proper certificate management ensures SSL flow functions correctly, protecting both security and connectivity. Question 13. Throughout the course of configuring persistence for a critical application, Mr. Harris finds that the chosen source IP persistence fails when users access the app via mobile networks. What is the best explanation for this issue? A. Mobile carriers often use NAT, causing multiple users to share a public IP, breaking source IP persistence. B. Source IP persistence is incompatible with encrypted SSL traffic. C. The NetScaler appliance requires VIP addresses for source IP persistence to work. D. Source IP persistence requires session cookies enabled on clients. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Mobile carriers frequently use NAT to conserve IP addresses, causing many clients to appear from the same public IP. Source IP persistence relies on the client IP to direct traffic to the same backend server, so NAT breaks this model by grouping many users behind one IP. Source IP persistence works regardless of SSL encryption. B. VIP addresses, C, are unrelated to persistence types. Cookies, D, apply to cookie-based persistence, not source IP. This understanding is crucial for selecting the right persistence method depending on client environment. Question 14. To illustrate this point, Brown wants to understand the impact of disabling content switching on a multi-application environment. What is the likely consequence? A. Traffic will be routed to the default virtual server regardless of request content. B. NetScaler will automatically redirect traffic based on application load. C. Backend servers will continue to receive traffic evenly without interruption. D. Content switching will be replaced by global server load balancing automatically. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. This is incorrect. Disabling content switching does not cause automatic replacement by GLB. D. The correct answer is A. Without content switching, NetScaler cannot route based on request content, so all traffic typically goes to the default virtual server, potentially overloading it and misrouting requests. NetScaler does not auto-redirect traffic by application load. B. Backend servers may not receive evenly if content switching rules are essential. C. Understanding how content switching influences traffic routing is vital for multi-application deployments. Question 15. In a modern context of NetScaler gateway authentication, Istasync needs to implement seamless session profiles to optimize user experience. What features should he configure? A. Session policies. B. Access control list. C. Route domains. D. High availability pair. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Session policies allow fine control over user sessions by defining conditions and actions such as client IP filtering, timeout, or SO settings, directly impacting user experience. ACLs. B. Restrict access but do not manage session behavior. Route domains. C. Isolate network traffic and are unrelated to session control. High availability. D. Ensures uptime but does not configure user session characteristics. Leveraging session policies aligns with best practices for managing remote access with NetScaler Gateway. Question 16. With respect to traffic flow through, a load-balanced NetScaler setup is new and asks which component manages persistence to maintain user sessions. Which component handles this? A. Load balancing virtual server. B. Content switching virtual server. C. Subnet IP, SNIT address. D. Global server load balancing. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. This is incorrect. A. Distributes traffic geographically but does not manage session persistence locally. The correct answer is D. The load balancing virtual server manages persistence by directing repeat user requests to the same backend server based on configured persistence methods. Content switching. B. Routes based on content but doesn't manage persistence. SNIP. C. Facilitates backend communication unrelated to session stickiness. Knowing which NetScaler can govern persistence helps design stable user sessions. Question 17. A key distinction between SNIP and VIP addresses is essential in network design. Mr. Robinson asks, which of the following best defines the purpose of a SNIP address? A. To communicate with backend servers on different subnets. B. To receive client requests from the internet. C. To be assigned to virtual servers for traffic routing. D. To provide management access to the NetScaler appliance. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Subnet IP, SNIP. addresses enable the NetScaler appliance to communicate with backend servers, especially across different subnets. VIPs (BC) are the client-facing IPs used for receiving client traffic and are assigned to virtual servers. Management access (D) is done via a dedicated management IP, not SNP. Understanding the role of SNP is fundamental to proper NetScaler networking and backend communication, ensuring traffic reaches intended servers securely and efficiently. Question 18. At the heart of this issue is Zhang is implementing NetScaler monitoring and wants to know why custom monitors might be preferred over baked TCP monitors. What is the best justification? A. Custom monitors allow for application layer health checks that better reflect server status. B. Basic TCP monitors are deprecated in NetScaler 10.5 and no longer supported. C. Custom monitors reduce CPU load by minimizing checks. D. Basic TCP monitors cannot be used with virtual servers. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. This is incorrect. E monitors are still supported. The correct answer is A. Custom monitors can perform advanced health checks such as HTTP response validation or database query checks at the application layer, offering deeper insight than simple TCP connection tests. Custom monitors ensure backend servers are genuinely functional, not just reachable, reducing CPU load. C is a benefit of simple monitors, not custom. TCP monitors are commonly used with virtual servers, but offer less precision than custom monitors. Question 19. From a historical standpoint, Ista Silva is tasked with upgrading firmware in an SDX platform without causing downtime. What best practice should he follow? A. Upgrade the active partition first, then failover and upgrade the secondary partition. B. Upgrade both partitions simultaneously to save time. C. Disable high availability before starting the upgrade. D. Remove the NetScaler from the cluster before upgrading. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Upgrading the active partition first and then failing over to the upgraded secondary ensures continuous service during the process. Simultaneous upgrade. B. Risks complete downtime. Disabling HA. C. Removes failover protection and increases risk. Removing from cluster. D. Is unnecessary and complicates upgrade procedures. Following Citrix recommended steps for SDX firmware upgrades ensures minimal disruption and preserves HA benefits. Question 20. In response to increasing security threats, Clark wants to mask internal server names and directory structures in URL served by NetScaler. Which feature should she enable? A. URL transformation. B. Content switching. C. SSL flow. D. Session policies. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. This is incorrect. The correct answer is URL transformation masks server names and directories by rewriting URLs, improving security by hiding infrastructure details. Content switching. B. Routes traffic but doesn't mask URLs. SSL flow. C. Terminates SSL but does not alter URLs. Session policies. D. Control user session behaviors. URL usability. URL transformation is essential for protecting backend details from exposure to external users. Question 21. Considering the evidence that Ista Davis's NetScaler appliance is experiencing unexpected session drops under heavy load, which configuration change is most likely to improve session stability? A. Enable persistence timeouts to be shorter than typical session duration. B. Increase the size of the SSL session cache. C. Disable load balancing to reduce processing overhead. D. Configure multiple SNP addresses on the appliance. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Increasing the SSL session cache size allows NetScaler to store more SSL session information, reducing the need for full SSL handshakes and improving session persistence under heavy loads. Shorter persistence timeouts, say, would cause more frequent session drops. Disabling load balancing. C. Is impractical and defeats purpose. Adding SNP addresses. D. Affects backend communication, not session stability. Proper tuning of SSL session cache aligns with best practices to maintain stable, secure user sessions. Question 22. Under the assumption that Is Fernandez wants to restrict administrative access to the NetScaler GUI, what is the most secure method to achieve this? A. Use ACLs to allow management access only from specific trusted IP addresses. B. Disable SSL on the management interface to reduce overhead. C. Configure our authentication for all users but allow GUI access for everyone. D. Enable anonymous access on the management interface with a strong password. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Using access control lists ACLs to limit GUI access to trusted it reduces attack surface and protects administrative access. Disabling SSL. B. Exposes management traffic to eavesdropping and is insecure. Our authentication C should be coupled with restrictive access, not open GUI for all. Anonymous access D is insecure regardless of password strength. Combining ACLs with strong authentication forms a robust defense for NetScaler management. Question 23. From the perspective of configuring load balancing virtual servers, White needs to ensure that SSL traffic is decrypted on the NetScaler before forwarding to backend servers. Which option should he enable? A. Enable SSL float on the load balancing virtual server. B. Enable content switching on the virtual server. C. Configure SNP address for SSL termination. D. Disable SSL profiles on the virtual server. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. SSL offload enables NetScaler to decrypt SSL traffic, reducing backend server load and enabling inspection or modification of traffic. Content switching. B. Manages routing based on content but does not terminate SSL. SNP. C. Is used for backend communication, not SSL termination. Disabling SSL profiles. D. Removes SSL control and is counterproductive. SSL float is a core feature to optimize resource use and improve performance. Question 24. Based on the information that Mitchell has, AE plans and wants to increase throughput by combining resources. Which NetScaler platform feature should she consider? A. Triscale clustering. B. High availability pair. C. Content switching. D. Global server load balancing. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. This is incorrect. The correct answer is A. Triscale clustering aggregates multiple NetScaler appliances to act as a single scalable unit combining throughput and capacity. High availability. B. Provides failover, not increased throughput. Content switching. C. Routes traffic but does not increase capacity. GLB. D. Distributes traffic across data centers but is unrelated to throughput scaling on one site. Understanding clustering is key for scaling NetScaler deployments. Question 25. When considering authentication protocols, Roberts must implement multi-factor authentication combining LDAP and Radius on a NetScaler gateway. What is the best practice for this configuration? A. Chain LDAP authentication followed by Radius in the out policy. B. Use LDAP and Radius in parallel, accepting whichever authenticates first. C. Configure Radius as primary and LDAP as backup authentication. D. Use only LDAP and implement Radius externally to NetScaler. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. This is incorrect. The best practice is a chaining LDAP followed by Radius to enforce both factors sequentially, running both protocols in parallel and accepting the first success. B. Defeats multi-factor authentication objectives. Setting Radius as primary. C. An LDAP backup reverses typical MFA flow, using only LDAP. D. Misses multi-factor benefits. Proper chaining enhances security, requiring both credentials. Question 26. Within the framework of troubleshooting, Evans observes intermittent failures on backend servers despite monitors showing them as healthy. What is the most likely cause? A. The monitors are not configured to check the specific application ports. B. The NetScaler is overloaded and dropping packets randomly. C. The VIP addresses are incorrectly assigned. D. SNP addresses are disabled on the appliance. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Incorrect VIP assignments can cause traffic to be routed to wrong or non-responsive endpoints, resulting in intermittent failures. Despite healthy backends, monitors checking the right ports is essential, but if configured correctly, this wouldn't cause failures. Overloaded NetScaler. B. It can cause drops, but symptoms differ. SNP. D. Disables backend communication, usually causing complete failures, not intermittent. Correct VIP management ensures consistent traffic routing. Question 27. The fundamental question is how Gomez can configure SSL profiles to limit acceptable cipher suites while maintaining compatibility. Which approach best balances security and compatibility? A. Use a custom SSL profile enabling only the strongest ciphers supported by all client platforms. B. Disable SSL profiles to accept all ciphers. C. Use default SSL profiles without modification. D. Enable SSL profiles with legacy weak ciphers for backward compatibility. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Option D. Correctly balances security and compatibility by including legacy ciphers where necessary for all the clients but removing weakest options. A is ideal security-wise but often breaks compatibility with older clients. Disabling SSL profiles. B. Removes control and increases risk. Using default profiles. C. May not enforce organizational security policies. Crafting SSL profiles requires nuanced tuning to protect without excluding legitimate users. Question 20. For the purpose of troubleshooting, is Sanders needs to capture and analyze network traffic on the NetScaler appliance. Which tool should she use? A. NSTrace. B. NSLog. C. AMD. NetScaler. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. SEMP is the correct tool for capturing live packet data on NetScaler appliances, useful for deep network troubleshooting. NSTrace captures NetScaler specific system traces, but not full packet captures. NSLog. B provides system logs, not packet level data. NCCLA. D is a CLI interface, not a capture tool, using INIAMP aligns with best practice to diagnose network level issues effectively. Question 29. From multiple perspectives, Ista Patel needs to mask directory structures in URLs to enhance security. Which NetScaler feature directly accomplishes this? A. URL transformation. B. SSL flood. C. Content switching. D. Session policies. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. URL transformation writes URLs to mask sensitive directories and server names, reducing information disclosure risks. SSL flood. B. Terminates SSL traffic but doesn't modify URLs. Content switching. C. Directs requests but does not alert URL paths. Session policies. D. Affect session behavior in a URL structure. URL transformation is key security feature for hiding backend infrastructure. Question 30. By comparing high availability, HA and Triskel clustering, which is a core difference Ista Clark should consider. A. HA provides failover between two nodes, while Triskel clusters multiple nodes for scalability. B. Both HA and Triskel perform the same function but use different protocols. C. Triskel clustering is only supported on VEX appliances, HA and PX only. D. HA requires manual failover. Triskel is automatic failover only. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. This is incorrect. The correct answer is A. HA ensures fault tolerance between two nodes with failover, while Triskel clusters multiple nodes for horizontal scalability and load sharing. They serve distinct purposes. Triskel is supported on multiple platforms, not limited to VPX. C. Failover in HA is typically automatic, and Triskel involves load balancing, not failover. D. Understanding this distinction is crucial for architecting NetScaler deployments.